Hey guys, my name is Haley, and my population presentation will be on leading the youth population. So let's get started. Okay, so first off, who is considered the youth population? So, according to the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the youth population is anyone ages 15 and under. So I guess to other people and to I guess different organizations, it might be a little bit over, a little bit under that age, but I guess overall, at 15 and under sounds pretty good. And the youth population, it could be teenagers or young adults or tweens, I guess, who are uh, part of the Gen Z population, but they could also be part of the newer population. I think it's called Gen Alpha. And you could deal with those who are just beginning high school, middle school, elementary school, and even preschool at times. So that's the population that we're going to be looking at today. So why is the youth population different? So there are multiple reasons why the youth population is different. So first of all, they're the potential leaders of tomorrow. So when you're dealing with them, you're dealing with people who are going to be leading this country or in other positions in the next coming year, in the next, 10, 20, 30 years. Also, it's important to understand that they are not as developed as adults in multiple ways than one. First of all, the human brain fully develops at around 25 years old. So they are still learning and they are still, becoming, they're still developing themselves. So when you work with them, it's a lot different. And also they have less world experience. So they don't necessarily act in the same way adults will, and they don't necessarily have the understanding that all adults have. So that is why they are different than other populations. So who most commonly works with the youth population? So there are multiple professions that work with the youth population. One of those being teachers, obviously. Either you're a teacher in high school, middle school, elementary school, or maybe even a tutor, or you're an at-home teacher, if like a parent is considered a teacher, you could consider that too. Because teachers they teach the leaders of tomorrow, and they're helping the development of the youth population. So that is a profession that most commonly works with youth. Another one is doctors. So whether it's a dentist or just maybe like a family um, physician or some sort of doctor, if you go for your yearly checkup and stuff like that. Um, so that's like a big part of, your childhood and your youth and the youth population. I know I'd always get angry at my mom for always taking me to the doctor and having to get shots and stuff like that. So I think when um, you're a kid, and I think that's like a prominent part of your childhood. So doctors is a profession that commonly works with the youth population. Another one is counselors. I'm not necessarily talking about camp counselors, but I think that it's a profession that, you could kind of put in that category, but I'm more talking about uh, more like psychological counselors and more like child counselors in terms of like behavioral psychology and therapists, things like that. I think that there are a lot of children and there are a lot of people in the youth population who uh, who work with those type of people to help in their development. I think there's a lot of kids that their parents, hire those people to give them a little extra help and they need some help with their development. So counselors, there's a lot of those type of people that work with the youth population. And then another one is retail employees. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the way in which they work with them, that they kind of serve them in certain scenarios, or they're kind of like dealing with them as customers. I'm also talking about working alongside with them because especially when you get into early high school, a lot of summer jobs and a lot of part-time jobs that those with youth population get are those in retail, in terms of the food service. That's more kind of what I'm talking about, more part-time positions. So those retail employees usually work with the youth population, and they kind of get to understand, what they're like, and it's beneficial to understand how to work with the youth population because those are because kids and like those type of people are going to be people that they're going to be working with a lot. So now let's get into 5 tips for working with the youth population. And I think there are more than just 5 tips that anyone could give you, but here are just some 5 kind of give you a little sense of how to work with the youth population. Now the first one, and you're gonna kind of see there's a kind of a trend here, but treat each question as though it's the first time you've heard it. And the trend I'm talking about is confidence building because when you're kind of leading the youth population, and working with them, it's really important that you give them a lot of confidence so that they feel more valued and that they are more committed to working with you. Because when you give them a lot of confidence, um, especially with these young kids who they want to prove themselves to the world and they want to kind of see what they want to get into, you give them a lot of confidence in them. They are more committed to what you're doing and they're more committed to following you and what you're doing and what you're saying and kind of their work ethic. So when you're treating every question, so it's the first time you've heard it, it's giving them a lot of validation for what they're asking. And those in the youth population are going to ask a lot of questions because they're not as developed, they have less world experience, and they kind of want to learn as much as possible that so that they could do the best job. So treating every question as though it's their first kind of makes it so that they don't feel as scared to ask questions because I know a lot of times it'll be hard to ask questions because it can make yourself feel inferior and it can make it seem like you're not necessarily knowing what you're doing. So treating every question as it's important and it's the first time you've heard it makes them feel more validated when they're asking the questions and more comfortable even asking more questions. So the next step or the next tip, I'm sorry, for working and leading the youth population is help them understand their strengths. So in this class, I know we learned a lot about the Myers-Briggs strengths. Sorry, that's the personality. We learned about Clifton's strengths, and we learned about understanding our strengths and to develop those more so that they can become talents. And a lot of this also really is a key thing when you're working and leading the youth population, because when kids understand their strengths, they could uh, become a lot better in what they do, and they could do the best job possible for what you're trying to lead them for and you're trying to work with them with. So some key tips is ask about perceived strengths so that they could kind of start thinking about, what are you good at? What do you what are you passionate about? And realize that kids have a lot to offer. I think that the youth population is very underestimated in what they could do. So just realize that they could do a lot more than you really think, even though they have less world experience and that they're asking a lot of questions, and it may seem like they really don't know a lot about what they're doing. They can actually do a lot more than you think. And also, again, sticking with the theme of confidence, because this is another one that builds the confidence of a lot of the people from the youth population. It really helps gain their confidence and really helps make them do a better job in what they're doing and give them more confidence for the future. This is a big tip, and I feel I strongly align myself to this philosophy is let them teach you something. Um, so ask if you're, let's say you're like an adult or you're part of maybe baby boomer generation or something like that. You're not as informed or you're not as knowledgeable about maybe social media. Ask about social media platforms that you'd like to know about. Um, because when you do this, Um, it helps you kind of you're kind of seeking their advice on how to reach more people their age. And, when you're trying to for advertising or, social media advertising, you want to work with a youth population when you do that so that you could better help, advertise your company or your product to them. And it really just, again, it really makes them feel very good about themselves and valued. Like you actually value their opinion. And again, this builds their confidence even more. So just building their confidence allows the youth population to get trust in you and do a better job and make them feel more committed to you and your vision and your company. And the last thing, and this is really scientifically proven, is teaching something to someone can make you better at the skill. And I feel like, let's say I'm studying for a test that I'm kind of nervous about or not fully, I don't feel 100% about. Sometimes what helps me a lot is teaching someone the subject or the topic. And when I do that, and I kind of explain, maybe it's like biology or I don't know. I'm not good at science, whatever. And like if it's something like that and I'll try teaching it to someone, it actually helps me understand it a lot better. The next thing, the fourth tip, is understand their values. I know we learned a lot about the Gen Z population and the youth population. Really, a lot of them are part of the youth population. The Gen Z population really cares about having social justice initiatives and for companies to kind of align themselves with something that benefits other people. So you tend to align their careers with their values and think of good social initiatives. So it's not necessarily 100% the case anymore that people focus what they want to do on financially and their financial gain for something. With the youth population, a lot of what they care about, obviously, money wise, it's still important just so that they can, stability in their lives in the future. However, they also want to be part of a company or an organization that also cares about their values as well. And whether that be social justice initiatives or any other kind of values that they hold, it's really important for them to be part of something that they could connect to and that they value because of the values that they have. And the last tip that I have for you if you're working with the youth population is project confidence. This is something that teachers kind of really emulate a lot. Um, projecting confidence in the topics that you're talking about, or in trying to teach the population on how to do a specific job. So youth will be more confident to step up and take responsibility if you project confidence in what you're teaching them because they feel that you're a credible source in what you're teaching them, and they are very confident in how you're teaching them, and they're confident that when they listen to you on how to do this, they'll understand it a lot better. So they'll be more confident. Again, confidence is a key thing here to step up and take responsibility for whatever you're teaching them. Again, more trust in your abilities. And this is something that I feel like is also very important. Fake it till you make it. Obviously, you can't just fake everything that you're doing. But what I'm talking about here is the confidence in something. Fake the confidence. Not everyone's a very confident person, but just fake the confidence till till you could really show like kind of just show the youth population that you know what you do and this is your stuff. So yeah, like if you project confidence in what you're doing and how you're teaching, these populations really going to dig into that, and they're really going to benefit themselves a lot more because of that, and they're going to end up benefiting your company, organization, or what you're trying to lead them in the long run. All right, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you learned a lot here. If you have any questions, obviously you could leave your comments and questions in the comment section in the discussion board, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you.